Hi, Martin Turner here. This week we complete the second of our 2 lectures on predicting the future. We start by looking at forecasting net operating assets, one of the key accounting drivers of cash flow and economic profit. We then look at the issue of forecast horizon, what we do when we cannot forecast further into the future. We discuss some of the key issues about using financial statements, which are a record of what a firm has done in the past, to help us focus on the future of our firm. And we discuss whether it makes sense to focus on the economic and business drivers of our firms with all the judgments and qualitative assessments this requires. And we discuss what barriers we may face to use financial statements to engage with the realities of our firms. First, let's look at forecasting net operating assets. Hi, Martin Turner here, and welcome to the lecture for Week 8, Predicting the Future, for Act 13017, Financial Statement Analysis. This week we're going to review what we had a look at in Week 7, and then we're going to focus on how we shift to focusing on the economic and business drivers, which is the challenge everyone is facing at this part of our unit. And we'll see that we're forecasting for 5 years, so we have a forecast horizon of 5 years. But what do we do about what happens to our firms beyond our forecast horizon? And that's the other aspect that we'll look at today. Now, last week we started with predicting the future, and we focused on the accounting drivers, the drivers of our financial statements. This is all still in the world of numbers, the accounting numbers. And we saw that we've got to forecast the economic and business drivers. These are the drivers of the economic and business realities. These are the things that are happening in the real world as opposed to happening in the accounts. And we saw that the key accounting drivers, we can focus on certain aspects of the accounts that are driving value using our economic profit and our cash flow, discounted cash flow models. And there's a great video on key accounting drivers, which you can access on the slide with the live link, or in the videos for weeks 4 to 6. So our frameworks help us focus on what are the key accounting drivers of adding value. And we've seen that they're the return on net operating assets, profit margin, asset turnover, sales and sales growth, and net operating assets. And there are some important videos on sales growth and also on good and bad sales growth, where we see that not all sales growth is good. How do we tell the difference between good and bad sales growth? So these are our key accounting drivers using the economic profit and discounted cash flow frameworks. And we saw that we need to understand the connection between the accounting drivers of our financial statements and the economic and business drivers of the economic and business realities of our firm. It's understanding these connections between the accounting drivers and the economic and business drivers that's key, or at the heart of financial statement analysis. So a number of people will be asking themselves at this point, how do I engage with the economic and business drivers of my firm in a way that's meaningful and that can lead to some good insights? Well, you can feel that you need experience and the ability to make sound commercial judgments to be able to do this. But, and you might be feeling like I'm still learning, but that's the case all the time. I am as well. I've been analysing firms for a long time, but you're constantly learning and getting better and developing your strengths. So everybody is on that learning curve at some point. And so I find that people can do this, you don't need to have a heap of experience. You don't need to have a whole lot of ability to make sound commercial judgments and have been running businesses and stuff. a lot of people can really start to engage with this very effectively. So just work at it, and a key part is to discuss with others. You'll have a few ideas, other people have a few ideas. Everybody's trying to move from the accounting drivers to the economic and business drivers. So this is our shift in focus now. Instead of focusing on the numbers, we're engaging directly with the economic and business drivers of our firm. And this is really, it's the heart of financial statement analysis, but it's also at the heart of accounting. See, accounting is not about the numbers, but it's about what the numbers can tell us about the business. And that's what we're looking at now. The accounting drivers help us focus on what we think are the key drivers of value in the business itself. Profit margin, asset turnover, sales, net operating assets, the key accounting drivers, these are the financial statements. We're focusing on that connection between the accounting drivers and the economic and business realities that are driving those accounting numbers, the accounting drivers. So what is driving the key accounting drivers? What is driving Ryman Healthcare's high profit margin and low asset turnover? What is driving Ryman Healthcare's solid, strong sales growth year after year for long periods? What's driving Ryman's strong growth in net operating assets year after year, decade after decade? What is causing that for Ryman Healthcare? And you're asking the same questions for your firm. So what we're doing here is connecting the accounting drivers of our firm with its economic and business drivers. We saw last week what I'm doing that with Ryman Healthcare and in the study guide, and you have the opportunity to do that with your firm now. Before we start the unit, or a lot of people would just like to forecast the accounting drivers from the past accounting drivers. Ryman Healthcare's got strong profit margins. Let's just keep forecasting strong profit margins. We'd all like to do that, but why? Why would that continue in the future? Would it go up, down, stay the same? Why? So in order to do that, we need to connect the past accounting drivers to the economic and business realities. What's driving Ryman Healthcare's high profit margin, sales growth, net operating assets, and so on? What is driving it? And are those things that are driving it going to change in the future or stay the same? So if residential house prices is one of the drivers of Ryman Healthcare's profit margins, what's going to happen with residential property prices over the next 5 years? We need to forecast them, and then we need to connect them to the future accounting drivers, and make our judgments around that, and that'll then allow us to make a valuation in dollars of our firm. Now, one of the key accounting drivers is expected future sales growth. Sales growth can be a real driver of a business. And another key accounting driver is the expected future sales growth and the net operating assets that are expected to support that sales growth. And so typically when your sales are growing, you need more net operating assets. A business, not Ryman's, but a business might have a lot of inventory. It's got to grow its inventory. It's got to, it might have more receivables from its customers. So there's a certain amount of working capital, or they've got to build more buildings and more property, plant and equipment, which is the case for Ryman Healthcare. And so to support the sales growth. So net operating assets growth, sales growth, how are these going to be happening in the future for our firm? And we're going to be looking at these over the next 5 years. So that's a challenge a lot of people are looking at the moment, how to move from the accounting drivers to the key economic and business drivers. Quite a few people are making some good adjustments to that. And this will be, you'll be drawing on the early parts of assignment 1, where you're looking at your firm's strategy, you're looking at what the firm did and aspects of its operations. These will all help you to come up with ideas about what the key economic and business drivers are. And we're just forecasting them for 5 years. The forecast period can vary from company to company depending on how predictable a business might be, but we're just doing 5 years for everyone. So we're just forecasting for 5 years, and that's a fairly lengthy period to be forecasting anyway for a lot of firms. And then, but what do we do when we get past the 5 years? Our firms are not just going to stop and not deliver any value in 5 years, hopefully. Ryman Healthcare will keep delivering value, I would expect, to its investors well after 5 years. So how do we include that in our evaluation and forecasts? And this is the concept of forecast horizon. There's a great video on forecast horizon. These are all short videos. And so you should look at that. These short videos are a key part of the content, just like the study guide. The forecast horizon, you see, when we look out, we can see a certain distance, but then we can't see any further. There's an horizon ahead of us. And this is very much what we're doing with our forecast. We get to 5 years, then what? Basically, we're saying after 5 years, it's too uncertain for us to be able to make these specific forecasts that we're going each year by year. It's too hard to forecast the economic and business drivers and what that implication is for the key accounting drivers. So what do we do? Well, we make some simplifications. Now, the forecast horizon for some firms, it'll seem really, we can't see very far. There's so much uncertainty, we're not sure what to do. We're doing 5 years for everyone, but some people, once you get to 2 or 3 years, for some firms, it might seem pretty difficult. And then other firms, you feel like it's much clearer going forward. Ryman Healthcare is one of those businesses. It has a lot of predictable cash flows. It's quite a predictable business in many ways compared to the average. And so you feel like you can see a fair way ahead. But whether you feel it's close in, like this or further away like that, there's always a horizon. There's a limit to how far we feel we can forecast or how far we can see ahead. And for some people, it might feel like you can't see very far at all. So what do we do? Well, when with a forecast horizon, we make some assumptions. And you can see that in the reading, you'll see the assumptions we make about sort of steady state sort of assumptions that we make about what might be happening after the forecast horizon. We can't see it. We're just making some estimates or guesses about what lies ahead. And you'll see the sort of formulas that we'll be using. And our model, we input into the model a couple of numbers that feed into our continuing value at the end, which is our assumption about what's happening beyond where we can reasonably forecast in detail. So the two main points, we're focusing on the economic and business drivers now. We're focused on the business, and this in accounting is where we should be focused. We should be using the numbers to focus on understanding the business, and we can give advice to people, or in this case, we can be valuing our firms. We also saw that we're going to need to be making some assumptions about what we think lies beyond our forecast horizon, and we'll be coming up with continuing values where we make some sort of overarching assumptions concerning growth and operating assets and so forth of what might be going to occur in the future. Well, thank you very much. I look forward to working with you in the coming week, and bye for now. Bye-bye.